We're in a dark and dangerous place in America tonight where politics is driving our system of justice instead of Lady Justice being blind to politics. The story of Lieutenant General Michael Flynn is at that intersection of justice and politics, but in the end is so much bigger than politics.
The federal judge overseeing the criminal case of President Donald Trump's former national security advisor Michael Flynn ordered Special Counsel Robert Mueller to turn over all documents related to the questioning of Flynn by FBI agents.
Good evening. I'm still reporting on the coup. 1 year after pleading guilty, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn will stand before Federal Judge Emmet G. Sullivan in his courtroom at 333 Constitution Avenue in Washington, D.C. for his sentencing hearing for the felony of lying to an FBI agent. My last consulting job in Washington, D.C. was with OSD, the Office of Secretary of Defense. My CAC card allowed me 24/7 access to the Pentagon. I was working at OSD when General Flynn was appointed as head of the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, in July of 2012. His reputation was so large that it even filtered down to my level. At a time when President Obama seemed to be gutting the military, everybody in the Pentagon was excited to see Mike Flynn get that job. Flash forward 4.5 years. 4 days after President Trump's inauguration, January 24th, the coup plotters in the FBI, Comey, McCabe, and Strzok, conspired to entrap Flynn in anything that they could use to squeeze him to incriminate President Trump. Last Sunday, James Comey brazenly even admits to the conspiracy.
Something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with in a more organized investigation, a more organized administration, in the George W. Bush administration, for example, or the Obama administration. So if the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official, you would work through the White House counsel, and there'd be discussions and approvals and who would be there. And I thought, it's early enough, let's just send a couple guys over.
This, incidentally, is prima facie evidence of a conspiracy, and the conspirators should be appropriately indicted and tried. Why were they after Flynn? Because they knew that Trump and Flynn knew. They knew about Clinton, they knew about Uranium One, they knew how corrupt the Justice Department had become, they knew who the bad guys were at the FBI, the CIA, and the DHS. Flynn had been head of DIA, an intelligence service much bigger than CIA. Trump had also been briefed about some of this by director of NSA, the National Security Agency, by its director, Admiral Mike Rogers, the chief codebreaker. But others must have been involved in the briefing of the new president about this as well. We are only now getting a clearer picture of just how corrupt the trio of coup plotters at FBI were, thanks to a new letter released just hours ago by reporter Sarah Carter, written to Judge Emmet Sullivan on behalf of General Flynn from former FBI Supervisory Special Agent Robin Gritz. According to her letter, I believe I have a unique inside view of the mannerisms surrounding Andrew McCabe, other FBI executive management, and former Director Mueller, as well as the unethical and coercive tactics they use not to seek the truth, but to coerce pleas or admissions to end the pain, as I call it. They destroy lives for their own agendas instead of seeking the truth for the American people. I am explaining this because numerous agents have expressed the need for you to know McCabe's and Mueller's pattern of target and destroy has been utilized on many others without regard for policies and laws. Mike Flynn is being branded a convicted felon due to an unethical and dishonest investigation by people who are malicious, vindictive, and corrupt. They wished to silence Mike. The letter is long, but it can be found in its entirety on www.sarahacarter.com. I'll let Judge Janine take it from here.
U.S. District Judge Emmet G. Sullivan made the request on Wednesday, the day after Flynn's legal team claimed that the FBI had pressured Flynn to undergo questioning without the lawyer present. The Reagan-appointed judge ordered Mueller to turn over the documents and memoranda regarding the questioning of Flynn by no later than 3:00 p.m. EST on Friday, Fox News reported. Sullivan also ordered that Flynn's lawyers turn over any documents or evidence that proves their allegations. Flynn's team alleged in a court filing on Tuesday that former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe pushed Flynn to meet with FBI agents without the presence of legal counsel. Flynn's statements during those meetings ultimately led him to plead guilty to one count of lying to federal authorities. The mounting legal bills during the time forced Flynn to sell his home. The judge could also determine why the FBI apparently took a significantly more aggressive tack in handling the Flynn interview than it did during other similar matters, including the agency's sit-downs with Hillary Clinton and ex-Trump advisor George Papadopoulos, Fox News reported. Sullivan has thrown out cases in the past after misconduct by authorities was uncovered. In 2008, he overturned the conviction of former U.S. Senator Ted Stevens when it was discovered that the U.S. Justice Department withheld evidence. While there is precedence that suggests Sullivan could overturn Flynn's conviction, he hasn't indicated he would do so. There is also no obligation for federal authorities to inform interviewees that they can have a lawyer present for questions. However, Flynn's attorneys claim that the FBI agents told Flynn they would get the Justice Department involved if he tried to seek White House counsel. The judge could also seek understanding as to why disgraced former FBI agent Peter Strzok put August 22, 2017 as the date of the questioning on his 302 report, when the questioning actually took place 7 months before. A 302 report is used by agents to document critical details of an interview, including who was there and what was said. Oftentimes these reports can be used as evidence when there is no audio or video recording of the interview. On Tuesday last week, Mueller recommended a lenient sentence for Flynn, urging him to receive no jail time for offering substantial help to his team.
Whether you're left, right, agnostic, or indifferent, at its core, this is a story of injustice. It involves the usual players, protagonist, antagonist, big players and bit players. We pretty much know the who, what, where, when, and how. The fundamental question: on January 24, 2017, was Michael Flynn treated as per the rules like any other FBI target? The answer? A resounding no. He was treated differently, which brings us to the question, why? The answer to why brings us to an unsettling place, foreign to all of us who have spent our careers revering the American system of justice. It is that system of justice that distinguishes us from other countries. We are fair. We strive to achieve justice for all. No one is above our law, and no one is beneath it. It's why people clamor to come here, legally and illegally. As strong as the Statue of Liberty is in the harbor in New York, so also is a symbol of blind Lady Justice in courtrooms across this great nation. The facts of this story are simple. Flynn was in the crosshairs of the FBI, targeted by the same players who we already know from publicized text messages and emails tried to prevent a certain candidate from becoming president and promote another. They were dirty. They were liars, some under oath. They were leakers, and they were corrupt. Now, there's one important fact that you need to remember. The conversation Flynn had with the Russian ambassador during the transition was legal, perfectly legal. Take that one to the bank. It is what is done in every new administration. The setup? Michael Flynn was called by Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe and told that the FBI wanted to talk to Flynn about the Russians, and the quickest way to do it was to keep the lawyers out. A clear violation of protocol, White House rules, and ultimately Flynn's constitutional rights. Now, we know this because U.S. District Court Judge Emmet Sullivan ordered prosecutors to hand over FBI files of the Flynn interrogation instead of sentencing him as scheduled. 48 hours later, the files are handed over, or as per the judge's directive, although incomplete and redacted. They confirm what Director Comey himself admitted and what the judge apparently suspected, that the DOJ and FBI hatched a plan to deliberately and intentionally avoid protocol, standard operating procedure in an effort to entrap Michael Flynn. Now, Comey even admits this when he pulls off the mask of Cardinal Comey to reveal the face of a hardened political operative who deliberately trapped Flynn. He not only admitted it with unfiltered hubris, he prided himself on what any other decent man of honor would have been horrified to admit, that the rules, the law, and the Constitution matter not when politics is at stake.
Something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with in a more organized investigation, a more organized administration, in the George W. Bush administration, for example, or the Obama administration.
Something you wouldn't have gotten away with in any other administration? So to be clear, the FBI went to great lengths to disavow Flynn of any concerns, telling him no lawyers need to be there. A plan that Comey, McCabe, and Strzok strategized, going to great lengths to keep even the Department of Justice out. And we now know that there were many arguments about whether or not they could and should do this. So you may be sitting there saying, hey, Flynn was a general. He should have known not to lie. You're right. You are right. But what is a lie? Is it a mistake? A misremembrance? A memory that simply doesn't remember everything? Or an untruth? And if an untruth doesn't require an intent to deceive to be a lie. Now, Flynn already knew that any conversation he had with the Russians was recorded, and that the FBI would certainly have a transcript of his conversation with the Russian ambassador, so there would be no point in lying. Even more compelling, Agent Strzok and the other FBI agent who interviewed Flynn say he did not lie. Quote, both had the impression at the time that Flynn was not lying and did not think he was lying. They even said he was unguarded and friendly. The notes further describe that Flynn did not give any indication of deception. Curious, however, is the failure of the FBI and the Special Counsel to provide the FBI's 302 of Flynn to Judge Sullivan. So how does the FBI file a false statement charge when the FBI thought it was no lie? And you're probably asking yourself, why would Flynn even plead guilty to lying when he wasn't lying? The answer? Flynn, based on his record of 33 years as a decorated military man, is an honorable man who may have realized when he saw the transcript that what he said was not consistent with the transcript. Or maybe he pled guilty because he ran out of money to defend himself, even having to sell his house to survive. Or maybe to save his son, also in the crosshairs of these people. And for those of you who think the FBI was just trying to get to the truth, you're wrong. If they wanted information, if they wanted the truth, they could have shown Flynn his transcript of his conversation to refresh his recollection to get at the truth. But no, they didn't want the truth. They wanted to take down a bit player to get to the big player. On Tuesdays, the parties will appear again before Judge Emmet Sullivan, a jurist unafraid of the swamp, a judge who has a track record of calling out prosecutorial misconduct, a man who does not tolerate injustice or abuse of power. Judge Sullivan can throw out this guilty plea if he concludes the FBI intentionally interfered with their target, Flynn's constitutional right to counsel. The story of Michael Flynn continues on Tuesday.
So on Tuesday, Judge Sullivan can, in the words of Judge Jeanine Pirro, reverse General Flynn's conviction. This would give him complete exoneration. Judge Sullivan can also hold those in the FBI who are responsible in contempt of court for refusing to supply him with the original 302s that led to General Flynn's guilty plea. What would happen? According to Judge Jeanine, this would make the house of cards of the Mueller investigation collapse. And that's exactly how the founders of this nation designed our system to work. The legislative branch has been unable to make the coup plotters within the FBI give up long subpoenaed documents. The most egregious case of bureaucratic stonewalling in United States history. This was instrumental in the Democrats retaking the House of Representatives. Even the executive branch, headed by President Trump, has been unable to make his own Justice Department and FBI comply for whatever reasons. So now it falls on the third branch of government, the judicial branch, to right the ship of state and return the rule of law to the Republic. We all need to pray for Judge Emmet G. Sullivan through this weekend and through Tuesday morning.